Welcome to Tired Mommy Revival. Hey mama, are you running on coffee fumes? Feeling like brain fog, fatigue, and anxiety are running the show? Do you wake up dreading the day ahead, already overwhelmed by the endless to-do list and unsure how you'll make it through? Do you long for the energy to enjoy motherhood and care for yourself, but feel stuck and unsure where to start? Let me remind you of something life-changing. You were created for more energy, more clarity, more joy. Hi, I'm Jerusha, certified holistic wellness coach, wife and mom to 2 wild boys and 1 baby girl in heaven. I know the exhaustion you're feeling because I've been there, barely making it through the day, relying on coffee and chocolate to survive, and wondering why nothing I tried ever made me feel better. Then, God stepped in and revealed a powerful truth. A woman's body is beautifully and uniquely designed to thrive. When we align with how God created us, we can boost our energy, bust through fatigue, and step into the vibrant, joy-filled life He has for us. Mama, I'm living proof that it's possible. These days, I wake up refreshed, nourish my body with intention, and navigate the chaos of motherhood with patience and peace. Most days. And I want to help you do the same. If you're ready to swap exhaustion for energy, brain fog for clarity, and guilt for grace, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into practical strategies, faith-filled truths, and empowering tools to renew your health, body, soul, and spirit. Are you ready for this? Let's do it, mama. Welcome back to part 3 of our God's Design for Food series. Today's conversation is a little raw, a little uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary. We're diving into the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. The miraculous manna had been flowing. God had been showing up daily, and yet they weren't satisfied. They wanted something else. Something meatier. If you've ever had a moment where you know God is providing, but you're still reaching for comfort food, if you've ever felt spiritually full but emotionally depleted, if you've ever found yourself using food to fix what only God can heal, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about cravings, what they reveal, what they cost, and how we can turn them into an invitation to trust instead of control. Let's jump into Numbers 11. The Israelites are in the middle of the desert. Manna is showing up daily, sweet, satisfying, miracle bread from heaven, and yet, in verse 4, it says, the rabble among them began to crave other food. If only we had meat to eat, they said. They go on to list everything they had in Egypt. Cucumbers, melons, garlic, onions. They made it sound like a Whole Foods picnic. But what they conveniently left out? They were slaves. Why were they craving comfort food? Because they were uncomfortable, completely in the unknown. Their whole lives they'd been told when to work, where to sleep, how to survive. Even if they passed down the stories of God, they hadn't lived in the tangible presence of Yahweh like this before. This was all new and scary and disorienting. Haven't we all been there? God, I followed you here. Now why does it feel like everything's falling apart? You provided so richly last time, but maybe I've used up all my God tokens. Can I really trust you this time? Deep down, we crave control when we feel abandoned. Food becomes the thing we can hold when we don't know what God's doing. But while God was giving them sweetness in the manna, He was asking something in return. Trust me. Rest in me. Ask me. Receive from me. Accept me as the source of all your needs. But instead, the people demanded meat. They threw a fit until they got it. So God gave it. and then watched as their craving turned into catastrophe. In verse 32 and 33, it says, they stayed up all that day and night and all the next day and gathered quail. While the meat was still between their teeth, before it could be consumed, the Lord's anger burned against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. Let's unpack this. They didn't just eat the meat, they obsessed over it. They stayed up for 48 hours collecting it. With no refrigeration, no way to preserve it, and no limit on their greed, they were completely ruled by desire. Now, some scholars suggest the plague may have been the natural result of spoiled meat and bacterial contamination in the heat. But whether the cause was divine or natural, the message is clear. Craving without boundaries can destroy us. And today, it's not quail. It's processed sugar, food dyes, chemicals, refined oils, so many things that look good, taste good, even feel like comfort, but they lead to inflammation, disease, anxiety, brain fog, and fatigue. Worse, when we do start to feel the consequences, we're handed prescriptions instead of permission to heal through God's design. God created food to be enjoyable and life-giving. When it no longer leads to health, it's no longer aligned with His design. So let's ask the deeper question. Where do these cravings really come from? Sometimes they're biological, hormone imbalances, blood sugar dips, nutrient deficiencies, but often cravings are emotional and spiritual. You're not reaching for chocolate because you're hungry. You're reaching because your toddler is melting down and you don't know how you'll get through bedtime. You're not snacking at 10 p.m. because you need energy. You're wondering how to pay that bill and if God really still sees you. You're not baking again because you're joyful. You're asking, God, does your promise still stand? Mama, those moments are not weakness. They're invitations. God wants to meet you right in the craving, to whisper, you don't need to numb this. I'm here for you. I've got you. I've got this. Cravings aren't sinful, but what we can do with them can be. We're told that self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. That means it's not about willpower. It's about relationship. When food becomes our master, we stop living under the freedom God designed for us. This doesn't mean we live in fear of food or follow restrictive rules. It means we check our heart and ask, is this drawing me toward God or away? Am I honoring my body or ignoring it? Am I turning to food for comfort or to the Comforter Himself? Sometimes you'll eat the chocolate and thank God for the joy of it. Sometimes you'll put it back and choose a warm cup of tea instead. But either way, it's not about legalism. It's about alignment with God's best. Now, before we move in today's heart check, I want to pause and talk about something we can't ignore, because cravings aren't just emotional and spiritual, they're also physical. And if we want to honor God with our whole selves, we've got to bring our bodies into the conversation too. Here's the truth. Cravings usually come from imbalance. It's not always about lack of willpower. It's often about what's happening physically under the surface. Cravings are often the result of nutrient deficiencies, especially from processed foods or carb-heavy meals. If you start eating nutrient-dense meals, you'll find that you actually get full a lot faster because you will train your body to search not just for calories, for volume of food, but your body will actually tell you it's full when its nutritional needs have been met. And so it says, yes, now we're full. So nutrient deficiencies can keep you eating and searching for food even when you've already put too much in your body. The next is blood sugar crashes caused by sugar spikes and insulin highs and lows. When you find yourself snacking on foods, especially foods high in sugar or carbs, it can cause a spike in your insulin and you'll feel good in the moment. You'll feel like you have more energy and you might even get a temporary emotional boost. But what's going to happen is it's going to be followed by an energy low, that dip in insulin. And when that happens, you will be running to the pantry and uncontrollably grabbing the first snack you can find. The last is gut dysbiosis. This is when the bad bacteria in your gut literally send signals to your brain asking for more sugar to feed them. You guys, the brain and the gut communicate with each other. And when you have good bacteria in your belly, it will send signals up to your brain asking for good foods rich in nutrients and fiber that feed you and help your immune system thrive. But when the bad bacteria get in control, which happens when you've eaten a lot of sugar or processed carbs, they run the show and they send signals up to the brain telling you to eat things that are going to feed them and make them stronger, which are carbs and sugars and processed foods. So you literally have little living organisms in your body screaming at you for sugar. And we have to resolve that if we want to feel better. So yes, we need to ask the hard questions, but we also need to ask, what is my body missing? What am I feeding that I don't want to grow? What has God already provided that can help me feel balanced and satisfied? Because when we fight cravings with sheer willpower alone, we often end up stuck in a cycle of shame and exhaustion. Mamas, when we became moms, our willpower went out the window. Yes, we can still have self-control, but let's be honest, more times than not, if we have to choose between cookies and self-discipline, we're gonna choose the cookies. Being a mom is hard, and we go through seasons that are especially hard. And it's okay to give yourself grace coming out of a hard season where your eating has been a little out of control. But when we're ready to change, we need to stop and say, okay, what do we do now? Sometimes the struggle can feel like such a spiritual battle, but really our bodies are crying out for healing too. That's why we must pair spiritual self-control with physical nourishment. The Bible calls self-control a fruit of the Spirit, but it also calls the fruit of the land good. Foods that grow from the earth, rich in color, fiber, and life, are exactly what God designed to help heal your body. Nutrient-dense foods help you feel full because they give your cells what they need. Fiber slows blood sugar spikes and calms insulin response, reducing those intense cravings over time. And real foods feed the good bacteria in your gut, while the sugar-loving bad ones begin to die off. And when they die, so do the cravings. So when we partner with God's provision, His Spirit to guide us emotionally, and His foods to heal us physically, we step into a freedom that's so much more than willpower. We step into peace, clarity, energy, patience, and joy. All the things we need to live the lives we've been called to as moms, nurturers, and kingdom women. You don't have to live at war with your cravings. You don't have to feel like your body is against you. You were created to be nourished, and you've already been given everything you need to begin. So let's talk about some craving busting strategies that can actually help you heal. Get ready to take notes, mama. Number 1 is eat an intentional, nutrient-dense meal instead of grazing or snacking all day. This is why it helps. Snacking often leads to blood sugar instability and nutrient gaps. A real meal that includes protein, fiber, and healthy fats with colorful plants will leave your body satisfied and it will reduce that chase for something more. Number 2 is reach for protein first when cravings strike. And this is why it helps. Protein is deeply satisfying and stabilizes blood sugar. When you want to eat a cupcake, a handful of nuts, a boiled egg, or some grilled chicken, or even some almond butter on an apple is not going to feel like the thing that you want, but it will help the craving fade within 15 to 20 minutes, and it will help you feel like you're taking your power back. Number 3 is add fiber-rich foods to every meal, and this is why it helps. Fiber slows digestion, balances insulin, and feeds good gut bacteria. Cravings drop dramatically when your gut microbiome is supported with foods like chia seeds, flax, leafy greens, and colorful veggies. Number 4 is stay hydrated, especially before giving into a craving. And this is why it helps. Dehydration can mimic hunger and increase sugar cravings. So instead, add some lemon or cucumber or a pinch of mineral salt to make water more appealing and mineral rich. Number 5 is don't let yourself get overly hungry. And this is why it helps. Going too long without food causes blood sugar crashes that trigger intense cravings, especially for carbs and sugar. So eat regularly and be proactive, not reactive. Number 6 is swap sugary comfort foods for naturally sweet, fiber-rich options. This is why it helps. Fruits like berries, apples, or even dates with nuts satisfies a sweet tooth without spiking your blood sugar like cookies or candy do. The benefit of fruits is that you get the fiber and the antioxidants with the natural sugar, and you definitely don't get that with processed foods. Number 7 is get moving when cravings hit, and this is why it helps. A 5 to 10 minute walk or stretch boosts feel-good brain chemicals, stabilizes blood sugar, and can interrupt the craving loop before you get back into the kitchen. Number 8 is pause and pray before reaching for something. This is why it helps. This interrupts emotional eating patterns and recenters you. Ask yourself, what do I really need right now? What am I trying to soothe? Sometimes the answer isn't food at all. Number 9 is go to bed earlier, and this is why it helps. Fatigue increases cortisol and hunger hormones like ghrelin, making cravings harder to control. Lack of sleep also reduces your body's ability to regulate blood sugar the next day. Now, if you're in a season of having a newborn at home, obviously you can't control this very well at all. So lean into the other tips to help give yourself the extra boost and balance that your body needs in order to deal with this tough season. But as soon as you can, get that baby on a sleep schedule so that you can be on one too, mama. Number 10 is crowd out the junk. Don't obsess over restriction. This is why it helps. Instead of focusing on what you can't have, start adding more of what you need. The more God-given whole foods you bring in, the more your body will naturally stop asking for junk, and it won't feel like you have to give up everything that you've been relying on and loving throughout the day. Okay, mama, are you ready for that heart check? Let's pause here for a minute and reflect. Are you in a season that feels unfamiliar, overwhelming, or unstable? Are you seeking comfort in food instead of God's presence? Are your cravings leading to connection or consequences? You don't need to feel ashamed, but you do need to feel invited to come back to the source, the one who still provides, still satisfies, still nourishes, even now. Your journey doesn't have to look perfect, but you just have to take one step today towards walking towards God's plan for your life, towards God's plan for your eating. Start saying yes to Him more than you're saying yes to the sweets and the junk that are so tempting, but ultimately don't serve you, your body, or God's design for your life. Mama, you were created to be nourished, not just fed. God is not withholding from you. He's not done providing, and He hasn't abandoned you in this season. The same God who gave manna in the morning and quail in the evening is still inviting you to trust Him today. So next time a craving hits, pause and ask what you really need. Invite God into the kitchen. And remember, your hunger isn't the enemy. He's the answer. In the next episode, we're stepping into the promised land. We're going to talk about what it means to feast with joy, to gather with gratitude, and to let food become a celebration of God's abundance, not a source of stress. So come back and join me for the next episode, Mama, because I want you to understand the full scope of God's abundant blessing for the food that you eat. It is going to be such a good conversation. But for today, let God fill the hunger behind the craving. You were made for more than food. You were made for Him. Mama, I hope this episode blessed you and reminded you that you were beautifully and uniquely made to thrive. If today's conversation spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to take a moment to leave a rating and review. Not only does it encourage me, but it helps more tired mamas discover the hope, healing, and energy they've been searching for. You're not in this alone. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Together, we'll reclaim your energy, renew your health, and revive your spirit, one step at a time. Until next time, remember, you are beautifully designed by God to live with energy, clarity, and joy. You're not just surviving, Mama. You're stepping into the vibrant life you were created for. I'm cheering you on.